Hello everybody, I'm Emta, you can also call me Eric, that's my real name, and today I'm going to be showing you my creative process for my latest physical piece titled Inertial Trance. So the first thing I like to do when I do a piece like this is I like to sketch out my idea on a piece of paper. This is just the easiest way to get my idea from my mind to somewhere where I can refer back to it. So here I am drawing it out. We're going to be using an 18 by 24 sheet of acrylic for the base, and we also need ball bearings attached to a metal rod, which is going to have a CD attached to it. While I'm doing this, I'm also measuring out all of the parts so I know that they will fit together. I'm also going to be drawing a side view just so I have a better idea of how exactly I want to build this. So as you can see, I'm drawing the bends of where the metal rod has to be bent and also how it's going to be attached. Okay, so after I do the sketch, I usually do a mock-up in Affinity Photo. Shout out Affinity Photo, much better than Photoshop. So this helped because I was trying to decide if I wanted the rod to be black, or not black, silver or white. I decided to go with silver just because I like the contrast more, and I think that if the rod was white, it would just be too much white. So after that, I just write down everything I need to go get from the store, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. So here I am double checking, and we are good to go. So now it's off to the store. So the first stop is going to be Lowe's. Normally I don't go to Lowe's, but I was in the area, so I went to Lowe's. The first thing I'm going to get here is a aluminum rod. It's a 1/4 inch in diameter. The reason I got this is because aluminum is easy to bend. I don't need to apply any extreme amount of heat. I can just bend it by hand and with my bending tool. Then we go to Home Depot. They didn't have white acrylic, they only had clear acrylic, and it was pretty expensive, so I didn't want to test it on a big piece like that. So instead I just got this little test piece. We're going to be spray painting it, and I also got that one just so we can return it if it doesn't work out. Here I am spray painting the test piece. I did a couple coats. I didn't record all of the coats because I just don't have enough space on camera. There's Domino, and we're just going to let this dry for a couple hours and see how it looks. And with the magic of editing, it's done. So it turned out pretty good. So now we can move on to the actual piece. So now I'm going to do the actual full-sized piece. I did a couple coats on this one as well, and then I also did a clear coat on top just to protect it. So while that is all drying, I started working on the rod. To bend the metal rod, I used a tube bender, but it worked for this just perfectly. So here I am making a 90-degree bend, making sure it's perfectly 90 degrees. So there's our first bend. Looks good. Next up is attaching the ball bearing to the piece. I thought I would need adhesive for this, but it turns out that the fit was actually really good, so I was just able to tap it in with a hammer and make sure that it didn't break it, so I had to do it a lot, like just a lot of light hits. Next, I'm gonna be testing my drill bit to make sure that the ball bearing fits within this hole. So first I did it on a piece of wood just to make sure it wasn't like super broken. And then after I saw that that was good, I used my test piece of acrylic, the remainder of it, to make sure that this bit could also cut into acrylic without ruining it. So that worked out, and then I just put the ball bearing in to test the fit, and it worked perfectly. Next up, I need to measure out where I want the hole on my main piece of acrylic, so there's me doing that. Then I place it just to make sure I like the placement of it, and after that I drill it in. I kind of messed it up a little tiny bit. There was a little bit of part that got chopped off, but it's fine because it'll be covered by the washer when we finish. So now I'm just gonna measure out where I want the second bend and do that bend. And after that bend is made, I just cut it to size with a basic hacksaw. And there's our piece in its current state. The last thing we have to do is just to install the other ball bearing. It was actually really tricky to get this one on because for some reason the fit was not as perfect as the last one. So at first I used a piece of sandpaper to try to sand it down, but that didn't work. So I had to get a file out and just keep filing it down and trying the fit every so often. And it took about a good like 10 or 15 minutes of filing and making sure that it was on nice and snug. And after that, I have the piece ready to install onto the board. There's one last thing I have to do, which is install this washer. I used super glue for this. It didn't actually end up working. I didn't film it, but I used some steel epoxy for like $5 at Walmart. So we attach this piece. This is the piece that's going to be going on the CD. And once that's nice and centered and on, we can put the entire rod onto the acrylic. To make the CD spin better, I had to put some weights on it. Here's me testing it out with just some hot glue so I can take it off if it didn't work, but it actually ended up working out flawlessly, so I removed it, and this time I put it on with super glue to make it more permanent. I'm going to be stacking multiple CDs just to add to the thickness, so I have this label centering thing that I used, so I just put the CDs on and did that. Now I am installing it with hot glue, just in case it doesn't work out, I can replace it. The last thing we have to do is print out the center sticker. For this I use my Cricut. It's actually my dad's. It's great because I can just print something out and it cuts it perfectly, and it doesn't take that long, maybe like a couple minutes, and I have my sticker ready to go. So the final step is just to put the sticker on, make sure it's centered so when it spins, it looks good, and we're done. Psych, there's actually one more step. We have to mount it on the wall. Here I am measuring out the holes I need to drill for the standoff screws. We had to put some lube on it just to make sure that it didn't melt the plastic and it went nice and smooth. And after that, we have a fully finished piece on the wall. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and here's a funny blooper.